My name is Paige. I'm a 32-year-old part-time housewife. I live with my salaryman husband, David, and our 4-year-old daughter, Pauline, in an apartment. Today, in order to eat lunch with my mother-in-law, who was a cooking instructor, Pauline and I were making gyoza together with her. Oh my, Pauline, you were able to wrap the gyoza so well.
Once I'm finished with the gyoza, all we have to do is heat up the soup and then put rice in the bowl and then the lunch is ready. Hey, Mommy, we're gonna do egg over the rice, right?
Oh, that's my Pauline. You know that egg over rice is my favorite. You're the best daughter. And when you have egg over rice, it's even more delicious with seaweed.
Oh, and then I remembered that the seaweed cake called Matsu no Hakombu is supposed to be really good. I saw it on the morning talk show on Sundays with Matsumoto.
Oh, you mean the legend of the Japanese TV comedy, that Matsumoto? My late husband loved his TV shows. He used to watch anything that Matsumoto was in. He was a huge fan of all his shows. Yeah, what a throwback! Back in the day when I made your grandpa a costume that Matsumoto once wore on TV, he was so excited he was jumping up and down. The costume he wore on TV. But also, I didn't know that you could make costumes. After that, the three of us continued to reminisce, and once the lunch was ready, we all enjoyed it together. I was really happy to have such an amazing mother-in-law. However, recently I was being troubled by my husband, David. David was a full-time employee at a certain company, but his salary was low, and he was only getting about $1,400 a month. But no, that wasn't the problem at all. I was also working part-time, and we were somehow making ends meet, and I knew that David had a low salary when I got married to him. So, as for what was troubling me about David...
I'm home.
Welcome home! Wait, you bought that many sweets again at the convenience store? Even though I would prepare dinner and every meal for David, every single day he would buy over $10 worth of snacks at the convenience store after work. He never used to do this, but recently he got a new boss at work, and apparently that boss was a pretty strict person. He said that every day he's being yelled at, and that because of the stress, he would stop by the convenience store on his way home, and perhaps he was letting go of his stress with that. However, when that was happening every single day in a row, it had a ripple effect on our household finances. Hey, I told you yesterday and the day before that I want you to stop buying so many snacks at the convenience store, didn't I? I'm making dinner and food to snack on at home, so...
But even though you say that, everything that you make always has vegetables in it. Even though you know that I hate vegetables. You're doing it on purpose, aren't you?
Huh? That's right. David was a shockingly picky eater, and the only things he ever wanted to eat were meat, carbs, and ice cream and snacks. Before, he used to eat at least some vegetables, but if I had to make all our meals along with David's requests, then it was way too much. Food expenses would be crazy, and if you're only eating meat and carbs every day, then it can't be too good for your health. Because I had a license as a registered dietitian, it made me even more concerned. Doing it on purpose, obviously that's not the case. But if you keep eating snacks like that, don't you think you're gonna get sick? I was just worried about your diet and your health, and that's why I put vegetables.
Huh? That's not gonna make me sick. But also, you're a housewife only working part-time and lazing around the house all day, and yet you can't even prepare a decent meal for your husband? You should seriously be rethinking your life.
Excuse me, what do you mean rethinking my life?
Even though I'm working myself to the bone all day at work, all you do is some of the chores. Even though that should be your job as the wife. I was somehow able to eat my mom's cooking with vegetables in it, but yours is the worst. You're a failure as a wife.
For the record, I'd already spoken to my mother-in-law that David refused to eat most of my cooking. She was the one that taught me a few of the vegetable dishes that David could eat. However, even though I had taste tested with my mother-in-law and she gave me the approval that David would eat it, David refused to eat anything that I cooked for him, even though his mother gave me all of her recipes. He would endlessly complain that it was tasteless and that it wasn't food that humans should eat. Even though the first few years we were married, he would always compliment my food and say that it was delicious. But I had a feeling that it wasn't the food that was tasteless. It was just that he was so stressed out at work that he was taking it out on me and saying such terrible, terrible things. That's what I was starting to think when one weekend at home...
Daddy, look at this!
When I was running around the house doing the chores, David was splayed out across the living room couch watching TV. Because Pauline never got to play with her dad during the week, she must have thought that it was her chance to play with him, and so Pauline went up to David.
Look! The other day we made Christmas wreaths at preschool. We put together pine cones and acorns and stuff and...
As Pauline said that, it was right at that moment.
Get out of the way! I can't see the TV!
To our shock, while he was laid out on the couch, David glared at Pauline and yelled at her. Of course I was shocked, but Pauline seemed completely taken aback, and with her eyes wide open, she froze there like a statue. Hey, what are you doing? Pauline, are you okay? As I said that, I ran over towards Pauline. Pauline stuck out her tongue and glared back at David as she disappeared into her room. Hey, is the TV more important to you than your own daughter?
Ugh, sheesh, come on! You're also annoying. Today's my day off from work. Why can't you let me relax and watch TV on the weekends at least?
Huh? You know, recently you seem to think that you're the king of the house or something. I understand that you're stressed out at work, but I'm also working part-time and I do all the chores around the house. And even when you are home, you won't even play with Pauline!
Excuse me? The chores are a wife's job anyway, and raising the child is a mother's job, isn't it? But also, are you seriously talking back to me? You're only making a couple $100s a month at your part-time job, but I'm making $1,400. I'm earning way more than you. You know that, right? The only reason why you and Pauline are able to survive is mainly because of me. Who do you think you are?
There's no point in trying to reason with this guy. I left David in the living room, and in order to go talk to Pauline, I headed towards her room, but...
Looks like you don't even have anything to say back, you terrible, useless wife. Take that!
As I was walking away, he said that to my back! How irritating! I knew that I needed to get him back or I wouldn't feel refreshed, and so I waited until the next morning. That morning, David had changed into a suit, and when he looked at breakfast, there was a laid out on the table for him.
Huh? Where's my breakfast?
He scrunched his eyebrows and looked at the table. That's right, on the dining room table was only my breakfast and Pauline's breakfast. You said that I'm a useless what and that you hate eating everything with vegetables in it, right? No matter how many times I try, you won't eat, and on top of that, all you do is complain and leave the food on the plate. So sorry, but you can make your own food from now on. In that case, you can eat whatever you want for your meals. When I said that...
You bastard! The chores are all your job! You're a housewife, so do your job and cook!
But I was cooking with our family's health in mind, but you're dissatisfied with my cooking, right? So please, make it yourself.
You're the one who's putting vegetables in it! How many times do I have to tell you that I hate vegetables? Even though you're living off of my salary, don't use salary to buy vegetables!
Excuse me? And that was when Pauline came into the living room, said good morning to both of us, but... she let out a big sigh and said this.
Dad, you're so loud. It's only the morning.
Last night after that, when I went into Pauline's room to talk to her, she was completely furious with her dad. But it seems that now she was completely past the point of anger and over it. Pauline sat up on the dining room chair, and the moment she grabbed her chopsticks, David lost it.
You little brat! You two don't have any right to be eating food that was bought with my salary!
And then, to our disbelief, just as Pauline was about to eat the breakfast that I made, David grabbed it and threw it in the trash!
My breakfast.
Hey, what are you doing?
Shut up! If that's how you want to act, then I'm not going to put in any money towards the living expenses anymore. I'm the one that's earning the most in this household. Me. If you have any complaints, then get out.
What do you mean, get out?
Ha! That's what I thought. The only reason why this household exists is because of me. So I'm sure you wouldn't even be able to get out anyway.
As David said that on his high horse, he grabbed his bag and walked out the door to go to work. For now, I handed Pauline my plate and let her eat my breakfast, but that bastard, I won't forgive him anymore. Even though I was going out of my way to make meals that I thought he might like, he was trying to act like the king of the house and look down on us. I had had enough. He assumed that we wouldn't be able to survive on just my income and from my part-time job, and so he's up on his high horse with such a big head. But I can't forgive him for being so awful, even to our little girl. I had my own thoughts, so I was trying to be an adult about it, but I can't do this anymore. I'm going to show him, so he better be ready, that lowlife bastard David! That night, David came home, but this time with even more packed shopping bags from the convenience store in hand.
I'm home. Since you refused to prepare breakfast for me this morning, I assumed you probably wouldn't make dinner either. So I bought myself dinner and breakfast for tomorrow, in addition to my snacks. This is all your fault, so you better not complain about it. Sheesh. How do you think you're able to survive, you worthless wife? Even though you can't even survive if you didn't have my money. Well, if you just accept it and bow down to me now...
What mistake do you think you're making? As I said that I shoved a piece of paper in David's face. Of course, that was divorce papers.
Hey, what? Why are you suddenly saying a divorce? This is all your fault! The fact that you can't make decent meals for the master of the house!
I was making meals with the health and wellness of my family in mind. And even though you ate my food deliciously for the first few years after we got married, you acting like this recently. Which must mean you're just taking out all your stress from work onto me. Just because you're being yelled at by your boss, you take it out on your wife? What a tiny man you are.
No.
When I called him a tiny man, it must have hurt his ego, and he must not have liked that. He tried to come up with all kinds of excuses, but I just continued to ignore him. You tried to say that we're only able to survive because of you, but who is the one who washed that shirt and those socks that you're wearing right now? And why is the living room clean? And why is it that there are no crumbs and trash from all the snacks that you ate around the living room?
Because the chores are a wife's job and...
You also said that chores are a wife's job and that raising a child is a mother's job, and yet you only make $1,400 a month. So I have to work part-time just to survive. It's also amazing that you act so big. But also, saying that raising a child is a mother's job and talking about Pauline like she's a job makes you a failure as a father to begin with. He must have realized that no matter what I said, it wasn't going to change my desire to get a divorce. David started to sweat and then tried to say this.
That's right. You're only working part-time and earning a couple $100 a month, so there's no way you can survive. That's right. So that means for the rest of your life, you're gonna have to rely on me to live.
Oh, well, when it comes to money, we don't have any worries. Actually, right now, I'm not just working part-time. I'm also working as an assistant at your mother's cooking class.
What?
Because somebody refused to eat my cooking, I decided to become an apprentice with your mother. And who knew that your mother's cooking class was so popular? So with my part-time job and working as an assistant for your mom, I am now able to earn way more than what you bring home.
You're using my mom? That's so dirty, but if you get divorced with me, I'm sure that my mom is going to take my side as her son. She's just going to fire you anyway.
But then, right at that moment, our doorbell rang.
Sheesh, who the hell is it at a time like this?
David seemed irritated as he looked over to the door, but I laughed because I knew who it was. Because I invited them here. I opened up the front door and welcomed our guest into the living room where David was, and then...
Mom?
That's right, the person I called was my mother-in-law.
Mom, you showed up at the perfect time. Paige is the worst. Even though I haven't done anything wrong, she's trying to get a divorce and...
You're the one that's the worst, you idiot. David was shocked by his mother suddenly raising her voice at him, and he fell over on the spot. Paige, I'm so terribly sorry about my good-for-nothing son. You pathetic little man. Try put yourself in the shoes of a parent who has to listen to that.
What do you mean, listen?
Over the last month, all of the verbal abuse that you've hurled at me, I've been recording it all. And earlier today, I sent every single one to your mother, and she listened to all of them.
What?
And I also kept a diary of the terrible, terrible things that you've done to me over the last few months, because if we were to get a divorce and you refuse to admit what you've done, that would put me in a very difficult position, wouldn't it? So in order to make sure that I would be able to get a settlement fee and child support fees, I had prepared. That was when David started shaking from head to toe. But then he panicked and he got down on his knees to apologize to me.
Paige! I'm sorry! I was just so stressed from work. Even though I was getting yelled at every single day in the office, you weren't getting yelled at by anybody, so I got irritated and... Forgive me! With a monthly salary of $1,400, I can't pay a settlement fee or child support fee!
Don't worry, I'm gonna take full responsibility and make sure that this guy pays a full settlement fee and child support fees every month. You're not gonna have any time to laze around anymore.
Mom!
And that was when Pauline came out of her bedroom where she'd been packing up her belongings.
Pauline? Pauline! You can talk to your mommy and convince her not to get a divorce from your daddy, right?
David desperately tried to get closer to Pauline, but then she said,
Who are you?
What?
My mommy told me not to speak to creepy old men, so bye.
Creepy old man?
Pauline sure is a scary preschooler. As we watched the tears form in David's eyes, Pauline and I walked to the front door. We got outside, and just before the door closed, we heard an enormous crash come from the living room along with David's crying voice screaming, "Mom, stop! Forgive me!" After that, I got a divorce from David! Because my mother-in-law helped with my plan, I was able to receive a full settlement as well as child support fees. And then, under his mother's close watch, David is having to work during the day at the company and work security jobs at night. Just as she declared without a moment to spare. He had huge dark circles under his eyes, and perhaps because of his terrible diet, his skin had also become terrible, and he looks like he's aged decades. Well, he did this to himself. Well, on the other hand, as for me, with the settlement fee that we squeezed out of him, Pauline and I moved into a nearby apartment building together. I continued to work as my former mother-in-law's cooking class assistant and running to my part-time shifts. But I'm actually going to be quitting that part-time job soon, and I'm going to be opening up my own cooking class. Because I had my license as a registered dietitian that worked in my favor, I'm really so glad. Pauline is also going to the same preschool and seems to be enjoying her life without David around. That reminds me, my former mother-in-law came over to see us the other day, but I am truly sorry that my low-life son caused so much trouble back then. I'm so sorry. Not at all! If anything, you've taken such great care of me all these years. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much.
That's right, Grandma. Thank you.
Wait, Pauline, what is that you're wearing? Could it be that costume? I thought my husband would be much happier if Pauline was wearing it instead of having it tucked away in a box somewhere. I adjusted the size to fit Pauline as well. My daughter wearing this costume! You really are incredible, Pauline.
Thank you for watching! What kind of crazy people will we get to see next? Stay tuned for more!